I was born 87 years ago. For 65 years, I've ruled as Tamriel's emperor. But for all these years, I've never been the ruler of my own dreams.
Ah, Oblivion. So many fond memories. I remember when I was a 10-year-old lad and saw that game running on my older brother's PC for the first time. I thought that someday I would play that game and it would change my life. Well, I didn't think exactly that at the time, I don't know what I thought, I was 10 years old. But it had a huge impact on the way I looked at video games. Back then, if it wasn't a fantasy RPG, preferably in an open world, I didn't want it. And in some ways, it still stayed that way until today. So imagine my excitement when the remaster kinda shadow dropped on April 22nd. And not just any remaster. It's not the same game with an upscaled resolution, but in a whole different engine, while preserving the iconic Oblivion jank. They even used the same voice files. Like this one.
Stop! You violated the law!
Or this one.
I fought muckrats more fearsome than you!
Or this one.
I heard that thieves broke into the Arcane University, the Imperial Legion compound, and the temple all on the same night. Wait a minute, let me do that one again. I heard that thieves broke into the Arcane University, the Imperial Legion compound, and the temple all on the same night.
So I dove right into it. But with a question in the back of my mind. Is it really worth it to pay 60 euros or a Game Pass subscription for an almost 20-year-old game? If you could just, mod the original so it looks and feels that way? The first thing that meets the eye is of course the character creator. And this one is a bit reworked while still keeping the spirit of the original. Meaning, and I know that's the most important thing on everyone's mind, you can still create hideous abominations. It's okay, it's on the inside that counts. Now there are subclasses available for every race. Those have a small impact on your starting attributes. And is it just me, or are the Khajiit now kinda cute? Yeah, I just wanna cuddle you, you cute little fuzzball. Wait, is that racist? Once out of the character creator, Valandreth is just gonna throw his usual insults at you.
Looks like your days of woodland frolicking have come to a tragic end.
You talk to Yuria Septon, who looks way too realistic now, follow the blades, Renault gets into a car crash, and proceed through the dungeon, which remained very faithful to the original. So faithful, in fact, that there are the same chests in the same spots and the same gold coins on the same ledge. You know the one. The intro in general remains the same. The Emperor gives you the Amulet of Kings, yada yada, close shut the jaws of Oblivion. Hey, he said the thing, the thing from the title. Then he gets killed. Whoa. That's way more brutal than I remember. I won't go into detail about what happens in this story. You all know it anyways, and if you don't, where have you been living in these past 20 years? And can I join you? Boris has a very natural response to the assassination. Lets you choose your class, and off you go through the sewers and into the open world. Once outside, we're hit by the beauty that is Unreal Engine 5. But there the issues start, at least for me. This doesn't feel like Oblivion. I know that my head is shrouded by nostalgia, but I don't fully dig the new look. I can't really describe it, but I hope you know what I mean. Oblivion always looked different, with its vibrant colors and slight blur. It looked dreamy, almost like a fairy tale. I've also had huge framerate issues. I played it on my PC with an i5-13400KF and an RTX 3070, so I met the recommended specs easily, and the game dropped frames anyways. I've tried to turn down my graphics settings, but it didn't change anything. At times, the game was running smoothly with 60 to 80 FPS, only to drop to 25 in a matter of seconds. When looking at the utilization, it was at 90% for my GPU at times, so that's probably the issue I should look into. I don't know much about PCs, but apparently I wasn't the only one who was experiencing sudden frame drops. Apart from performance issues, the game looks gorgeous. Cyrodiil feels alive with its rich vegetation that looks denser than ever and deer jumping about. What breaks the immersion, however, are the constant glitches. I mean, Oblivion and Bethesda games in general are known for being buggy, glitchy messes, but this game, holy crap. The AI constantly fails to do what it's supposed to do, which led to me having to reload saves in order to progress the intended way. Some of it is just plain funny, an Out of Order with a ponytail for example, or NPCs that engage in conversation then just stand there doing nothing, or they are aggroed and run towards doors without opening them. But more than once my enemies just started T-posing after they weren't able to find me. Sometimes I even had game-breaking AI bugs, and that's really annoying. There is a whole collection of stuff going wrong, which I upload daily on my streaming channel if you want to take a look. Recently the game also crashed a lot of times when I tried to sell stuff or wanted to fast travel. But yeah, those are just a few examples of the issues I encountered while playing the game. But to get back to this new and extremely detailed look, it led to me getting lost and not really being able to see where I was. You see, I've spent so much time in the GOTY edition that I could always tell where I was. The world wasn't able to keep anything hidden from me. Now I didn't know what city I was close to, as the areas look vastly different and prettier than they did ever before. And the draw distance is on a whole different level. I couldn't test ray tracing because, well, my PC isn't good enough, but I can imagine that this is the best way we're ever gonna be able to play Oblivion, and I'm fully aware that Skyblivion is gonna come out pretty soon, and I hope it's gonna be good, if not better, than the remaster, because it's made by fans. But concerning the original, this is the ultimate version. Something I didn't like about the original was the combat, which basically just boiled down to button mashing until the enemies dropped dead. That was not as easy as it sounds though, as they were the spongiest of sponges. Especially at higher difficulty settings, they ate just so many hits that it felt like beating a brick wall with a rubber chicken, while the players themselves staggered very easily and lost health quickly. Higher difficulty just meant that fights took ages while not being very exciting. Paired with what I think is the worst mechanic in any game ever, enemy level scaling with the player, fighting was more a tedious necessity than a highlight, which is a bad sign in a game where fighting is the core aspect. So what about the remaster? While not super revolutionary, fighting feels better than it did before. You still fight your opponents through mashing the left mouse button and occasionally blocking an attack, or using the C button if you want to be a mage or you want to heal yourself. The main difference is that enemies visibly lose health, at least on adept difficulty, and there is at least some form of feedback, visualized by a new hit marker, which makes a huge difference. Level scaling is also still on, so it is still very weird when you go to a random bandit camp and see them wearing glass armor or other high level gear. Funny when a bunch of goblins is better equipped than the Fighters Guild. Speaking of the Fighters Guild, I cannot express how much I don't like that questline. It's basically speak with a guy in Anvil, Cheydinhal or Coral, go to one cave after the other and clear it out. Please, I beg you, Bethesda, no more generic caves and dungeons in Elder Scrolls 6. Please. Or just to get back to the enemy scaling, if you go into a random cave and there's just Drogs? How are they?
Drip.
Drags or liches chilling in a corner, though it never turns into a melee spam where you can degrade your whole weapon in one fight. Thank God. I'd advise you to not make the same mistake as I did and do the Battle for Castle Quatch quest early in the game if you don't want to turn it into, well, this. All in all, it's still an Elder Scrolls game, so it's far from perfect. But it looks prettier now, way prettier. The main elements and skills remain the same, although there are a few quality of life improvements, like a refilling health bar and a sprint button. No more jumping around and flying through the air in order to get somewhere fast and improve your acrobatics. The perks of leveling up a skill are now displayed in the character menu, a small change but a welcome one. There is also a progress bar now that shows how close you are to level up, similar to Skyrim. Alchemy materials are now a guaranteed drop, no more trying to collect ingredients and being met with a disappointing "you are not able to harvest anything" message. And while we're at the topic of quality of life, let's talk about the UI for a moment. The overall design is more neutral than in the game from 2006, which was very stylized in that paper parchment optics. I like that one a bit better, but I guess it boils down to personal taste. Generally, the inventories are pretty similar, but that is not necessarily a good thing, as it is very confusing. It could just be me, but I always overlooked icons, thinking that I couldn't click on them, and all in all, I'm not a huge fan. Now you also have to open a sub-menu to see if soul gems are charged and which effects the sigil stones have. That took way too long for me to figure out, as I usually ignore the keybinds on the bottom of the screen. Again, probably a me problem, but a change that was necessary. What I'm also not a huge fan of is the options menu being on the same key as the inventory and the map. I like it when games differentiate between menus intended for gameplay purposes, tab, and an options menu so it doesn't seem as bloated. But that's just a minor downside, and it's nothing you can't get used to. It was just the initial impression that took me off guard when I was looking for things that were hidden in completely different places. Invisibility is still completely broken, alchemy is still a get-rich-quick scheme. You can break the game pretty easily. But something they should have changed but didn't is freaking slow walking quest NPCs. I hate them. Just get a move on. Why do I have to wait for you to continue the quest? What are you walking in the wrong direction? I already cleared the area for you. You don't need me anymore. Why you gotta torture me like that? Why? Also, something that isn't necessarily a gameplay issue, but I don't know where else to put it, is the Steam achievements. It's a very minor thing and doesn't do anything for anyone, but they seem very uninspired. Like they just thought about putting them in right before releasing the game. You can get them all in one playthrough, and pretty fast, compared to other games of that scale, by just finishing the guilds, the main quest, and the Shivering Isles DLC. They didn't even bother putting in any achievements for my boy Pelennor Whitestrake. He used to be part of a DLC. True, it wasn't a very good one, especially compared to Sheogorath's, which I consider to be one of the best of all time, but still, it's a bit weird. I don't know why that achievement issue bothers me so much, probably because I'm a completionist and I want to be challenged in order to catch them all. Speaking of DLCs, the fact that they try to sell you the horse armor, the item that started that whole in-game purchases mess in the first place, again, is pretty fucking funny and absolutely evil. So where does that leave us? Is it worth the price? Well, for me as a huge fan of the original, this is the version I didn't know I needed until I played it. The bugs and the messy frame rate, the latter maybe due to my PC not being good enough, really make it frustrating at some points. I've also encountered bugs that had already existed back then, which would have been easy to fix, I assume, so there's hoping they don't just leave it in that state. But generally it made me get back into a game I've already played a lot. And not just that, I was constantly curious about how they managed to reinterpret the things I've seen almost 20 years ago. This led to me spending almost 100 hours back in Cyrodiil in a matter of 3 weeks. And yeah, I know that's bad, don't at me. I had a lot of fun, so yes, if you can afford it, take a look, you won't regret it. And if you liked this video, my first review ever, leave a like, comment, subscribe and tell me what I could do better. I'm always open to constructive criticism. If you want to see more of my stuff, there's my VOD-Channel and my German projects that you can check out. Links are on screen. That's it from me, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!
For I know my sacrifice is not in vain. I take my place with my father and my father's fathers. The third age has ended, and a new age dawns. When the next Elder Scroll is written, you shall be its scribe. The shape of the future, the fate of the Empire. These things now belong to you.